Welcome to another episode of the Tired Dad podcast. Today we're going to talk everything financial and crypto. Dun dun dun. Everyone, as soon as you mention crypto, everyone puts their backs up or goes, "Oh, it's a scam." Now, with me, I've got the go-to person of crypto. Because to be fair, I don't know many people that are hot on it apart from yourself. So, do you want to introduce yourself, who you are, and a bit about what you do?
Yes, mate. I'm Jim,
Yep.
and the go-to person. I don't know about the go-to person. I might, I might be your go-to person.
Yeah.
A few other friends' go-to person.
Yeah.
Otherwise I might cower under the weight of the go-to person. But yeah, I mean, so look, who am I? Look for kind of 20, just over 20 years. I worked as a church leader.
Mhm.
So in the faith-based sector. I say that because hopefully, um, I want to be credible, and so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think having some values and standards,
totally.
um, hopefully gives a bit of credibility.
Mhm.
And about well, in 2016, I completed the UK course for becoming to work in finances as a financial advisor, but
Yeah.
I continued to work in kind of homelessness and set up a couple of businesses and projects that were kind of around that to
Mhm.
support people in need. But then about 5 or 6 years ago, changed career entirely, left kind of the third sector and stepped into financial services, but also mainly with a focus on digital assets, cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and yeah, prioritized my master's degree on Bitcoin, just because I think it is such a credible player in the future of finance, really. So,
Cool, man.
yeah,
Cool.
maybe that's it.
I will vouch for you because I've known you now for, I was trying to think about this the other day. How long have we known each other, Jim? Is it like 30?
Since we were seven,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's
let's
about
just say that.
35
Let's just
years,
say
mate. It's a long time.
Wow, man. I remember playing in your house, playing guns, laser guns, and all that. So it's been a long,
I
long.
remember quite a few dead arms from you, certainly.
And legs.
Yeah.
Oh man, we could talk about just us generally for a long time. But anyway, moving on. It's really, I must say, it's really great to rekindle our friendship after so many years as well. We met up just before Christmas and we're
Yeah.
going to meet up again, so it's exciting times. Okay, let's get to the gist of it. Crypto. Okay, I got up with it 5 years ago on a win. Someone told me about it, put some money in, and it paid off. Didn't know anything about it, just left it in there, let it go. Now it seems to be everyone knows and everyone's an expert on crypto. If you go on the platforms, everyone knows their shizzle, everyone thinks they know how to tell everyone how to run crypto. Let's talk about the history of crypto and why you feel it's a great part to be involved in, and take it from there.
Well, I mean, the history of crypto is actually quite is longer than what people think.
Yeah.
So I won't go into that too much, but there was a project, I think it was like in the late 80s, early 90s, called DigiCash,
Hmm.
or it might have been a bit later than that. And essentially, what people have been trying to solve within cryptocurrency is uh, lots of different things,
Yeah.
essentially related to cash, really. How can you still have privacy? What's called the double spend. So that was a problem that wasn't solved for a long time within kind of digital currency. And then 2009, a group of people called Satoshi Nakamoto set up Bitcoin. And that was in response to the financial crisis of '07, '08,
Hmm.
and kind of said, right, here is what essentially is the intention. It was set up as a currency. It's not used for that necessarily by all parts of society or the world at the moment.
Yeah.
It's used for multiple different things, but set up Bitcoin. So it has kind of first mover advantage. Shall I mention some key features about Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
I know it's quite prevalent, but
Yeah.
um, so there's only 21 million Bitcoin that have been created. I think there's about 4 million of those that have been lost.
Hmm.
That's why you see like these mad like headlines in the newspapers about people that had Bitcoin like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and they've lost their hard drive.
Yeah.
And so there's one bloke in South Wales who's scouring through. I think he's got like a few 100 million of Bitcoin on a hard
Yeah.
drive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So he's trying to pay like Newport Council to go through all like all of the waste really,
Wow.
and trying to say, right, where is it,
Yeah.
and how can I get it because it's worth a few hundred million. I
Yeah.
don't think he's having much success. But anyway, that's why
Okay.
you get those cases. So there's a few million that have been lost, about
Hmm.
18 to 19 million that are still in circulation. So it has scarcity. So when you think of like a supply and demand principle, it has limited supply.
Yeah.
Demand is still increasing. That's partly the reason why why value goes up. But also it's decentralized.
Hmm.
So I suppose when you think of like a financial institute, it would
Yeah.
have what's called a single point of entry and attack,
Yeah.
historically. So if you want to break into the Bank of England, if you want to get the gold from the Bank of England, there's a single point of entry. It's not as secure as something that is decentralized across the globe,
Hmm.
and so has a high level of security.
Hmm.
So it's got scarcity,
Yeah.
it's decentralized. I mean, those are I mean, there are
There's
many
loads of it.
other kind of features, but maybe people are aware of those. So I don't want to chew over something that maybe people already know, really.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so there's a lot of history to it that we could talk about. I remember hearing about it on in the dark web many moons ago, and people were using it back then. And I suppose it's caught traction because of more awareness, I suppose, more a lot of people being more aware of what's going on with Bitcoin. And I think people like the idea of trying to make money from it, and that's what's been highlighted so much. So let's navigate from how you got involved, how you start to come into it to where you are now, and how best is it to navigate the crypto scammers, the crypto wannabes, the ways to make money and things like that.
How did I get? I mean, essentially, I got a phone call from someone, a mate
Yeah,
of mine, who talked to me about. It didn't talk to me about Bitcoin initially. Talked to me about XRP, which is an altcoin.
yeah,
And so in the crypto market, you get you got Bitcoin, which is the daddy, and then you get all these altcoins, that people dive into. He started talking to me about that. I think this was about 2019, um, and um, and then started to look at it. And I probably did what loads of people do, and I'm hoping to try and um, not have people do that really, or
yeah,
prevent people from, give them a little bit of prevention. I dived in, started looking at loads of these different cryptocurrencies,
yeah,
not really knowing what I was doing, but saw the huge gains that they'd had,
yeah,
and thought, yeah, okay, let's put a bit into this. And I would say that Bitcoin was my savior,
yeah,
over within that cryptocurrency kind of portfolio, because over the years, uh, the altcoins just dumped big
yeah,
time,
yeah.
and then but Bitcoin comparatively, just kind of went up and up and up,
Hmm.
in their values. And so I kind of got into it initially from the perspective of, okay, let's make some gains.
Yeah,
But then over time, started to realize, no, there's actually a lot more value to this for people.
yeah,
So, maybe from like a long-term perspective value, with Bitcoin, there's a lot of value, I still think. What would be good to say, Nate, at this point, would be that everybody has to do their own research.
totally, totally.
And
Yeah,
none of what we're talking about is financial advice. It is
no,
purely about our journey, or my
yeah, yeah,
journey, your
yeah,
journey. And I would also say that I don't think that I am the knowledge on it at
no,
all. I've learned quite a bit over the last 5 or 6 years, and really started to go, okay, this is huge because of, I think partly because of world debt levels,
yeah,
um, like the devaluation of currencies.
yeah,
So just on the basis of, as an example, £1 in 1971,
yeah.
in today's money would be the equivalent of £15.
Yeah.
So that
Wow.
just shows how much,
Yeah,
a pound has been devalued over time.
yeah,
And so I think part of the narrative of Bitcoin, really, particularly, is that it encourages you to save.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
when you've got it and you see it going up, you go, I'm not spending that.
Which is
There's
what
no
I
way I'm
did. I,
spending that.
I I I just left it in there and just watched it go up and up and up and not
Yeah,
touch it. So it's definitely a safe thing. And I think you are right that even though you're not an expertise or I don't know what you want to say you're not, but I do. You are a true believer in this, aren't you? You are like you
yeah,
truly believe in Bitcoin is the way, the future, the forward thinking of it all. So, and this is why I wanted to get you on board because I think someone that truly believes in it, like yourself, can share a lot of knowledge to people that aren't quite sure, not quite believing in the power of Bitcoin or crypto. So I think it's really important because we can get one side of the story where people say it's a scam, and then we get the other side of the story where people can say it's the be all and end all. And sometimes having a bit of both stories is a good way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think so. I mean, maybe if I go from the perspective of, okay, so world debt levels, everyone will know that. So,
Yeah.
you go to the US, and the US is, I think it's $33 trillion or 36 trillion. I mean, I can't even comprehend it
Yeah.
in debt.
Yeah.
What is the UK? I did get up some. The UK is 2.5 trillion in debt. So, like both the US and the UK, um, our debt levels exceed our GDP. So, like whatever the country's gross domestic product, whatever it is we're producing, our
Yeah.
imports, exports, etc., that like we have a greater level of debt. Now that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that debt levels are greater than our than the government's
Mhm.
spending or
Mhm.
whatever, but it does mean that our interest payments on debt are just going up and up and up.
That's
The
it.
way that they've resolved that over time is just by creating more and more money,
Mhm.
which essentially means that your money and my money is just continually devalued
Yeah.
because they keep printing more money. I
Yeah.
don't know, like I think one of the things that I find frustrating about financial services is it has so much that seems really, I've found over the years, really quite complex. Um, and actually I just think it just needs to be simplified
Yeah. Yeah.
far
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think that Bitcoin helps do that. But
Mhm.
so from the perspective of, okay, on the one hand, what is called fiat money is being printed compared to Bitcoin, which isn't being printed. It has a fixed supply,
Mhm.
and probably its nearest comparison is gold.
Yeah.
And that's why you get this Bitcoin and gold narrative. Um,
Oh, okay. I get it now. Yeah.
you know, in the sense of fiat is being printed, and they would say is backed by the government,
Hmm.
which actually means nothing.
Nothing.
It's like, so.
Yeah.
I mean, you will know this in the sense of, the UK and world governments used to be on the gold standard, and then in
Yep.
1971
Yep.
came
Yep.
off the gold standard,
Yep. Yep.
um, which essentially means that whatever money we produced, we had gold in reserves to
Yep.
say our money has value because of the gold that we have.
Yep. And
Um, then
that
they
started around that didn't that start around like 1930s or something like 1980s or 18 or something like that, like really
there,
early on.
yeah, there were some countries that came off it slightly earlier,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then essentially it was finalised in 1971.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. Okay.
and I can't remember the name of the meeting now off the top of my head, but anyway, yeah, there's like a whole website dedicated
Yeah.
to
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
1971, isn't there?
Yeah.
Um, but it was like it's really funny because like over the years there's certain conversations I remember or certain things. So when I was at college, Solihull College,
Yep.
and studying there, one of the lecturers, he said, I mean, bearing in mind this is 20 odd years ago,
Hmm.
um, and he said to me back then, um, the financial system's broken, and when you're older, you'll be working to pay for our pensions. And
That's 20 years
that's
ago.
20 odd years ago, right? And that was actually like in my reflection, that's kind of the thread of my journey.
Yeah.
And then when I was at so I studied theology as my first degree,
Yeah.
and when I was there, I distinctly remember one of the lecturers saying there was a point in the 60s, I think it was in philosophy or something, there was a point in the 60s where the Western governments intentionally decided to move from a production type model of economy to a consumer type model of economy. And
Hmm.
so that's when like products started to have a shorter lifespan because how can we get them to spend money? How
More
can we
consumer.
continually create
Yeah.
growth? So like that was something that was, I don't mean that from any conspiratorial
Yeah.
perspective. There
Yeah.
was just something that where they said economically, this is how we'll create growth. So we'll
Hmm.
move from creation, productivity to consumerism. And and then a couple of years ago, when as part of my business course, there was an economy class, and this guy, the economy teacher, was an elderly guy, a lot of life experience,
Yeah.
incredibly qualified, And me, obviously thinking about Bitcoin and the economy, I said to him in one of the lectures, the economy's broken, right? So
Hmm.
how is it fixed? And as an economist, he said, it is broken and there's no solution to fix it. And that's so like for me in that class, where I've landed is a solution to fix the economy that I can see
Yeah.
is Bitcoin. I don't have a
Ah,
problem with any of the other
yeah.
altcoins,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but in the sense of a way for people to have valuable money
Yeah.
that is secure, that has a level of anonymity or
Yeah.
pseudonymity.
Yeah.
So there's that privacy there. Eventually, I think it will be get more stable.
Hmm.
And so those are some of the, more kind of personal reasons as why where I've landed on
And
Bitcoin, really.
they're very legitimate reasons why you would want to invest in Bitcoin, aren't they? For you personally, for you. If I and I know you're not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm a very much of a conspiracy theorist. I like to question everything, why this, why that, and tackle things and stuff like that. And I think for me personally, it's just the thing of having control over my own finances
Yeah,
because I hear now stories, business owners. I was chatting to a multimillionaire the other day, had his bank account gone like
yeah,
that. And so like they've got the power now to shut down your accounts,
yeah.
which worries me as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, and trying to, as you know, like we come off, our family are trying to come off the system. So having control of my own assets and having control of my own money is a massive thing that I want to move forward to. And I think crypto is a way forward.
So like it gives you control, which I would say for some people is a massive boon where they
Yeah.
go, I'm in for it.
Yeah.
But so don't tell me that first crypto transaction that you did, there wasn't a level of nerves.
We
Do you know what I
spoke
mean?
about this, man. My bumhole twinged. Let's just say. Because I remember when it all went up, I thought, I'm going to take some money out. And so I took some money out of it. And all the rumors started coming around in my head. Can you take money out? Can you really take hardcore money out? And then I remember
Yeah,
moving from my
yeah,
Exodus wallet to my Coinbase wallet. And I was like, it's gone. It's disappeared. It's gone.
yeah.
Like this. And then it takes a while to then catch up. And I was like, oh, it is in there. Okay, let's try and put it in my bank account. And then another 2 minutes later goes, oh man. And then and so yeah, it's a very that first transaction is a sweaty one.
Well, because essentially what you're moving from, so they would say obviously within Bitcoin and within crypto, it's a trustless process by way of at the moment for a lot of people with banking, we have to trust a lot of people,
Yeah,
um, and so like even when you want to withdraw certain amounts of money from your account, I mean it's your money,
yeah, yeah,
but what happens is if you want to withdraw 5,000, 10,000 pound or more, there then has to be certain protocols that you follow
yeah,
to justify your own withdrawal. So then when you're in Bitcoin and you might have, I mean, look, you might have, tens or hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands, whatever it may well be. And for each person, depending on our level um of 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 luck, of success,
yeah.
whatever it is, then when you're sending money. So
Hmm.
for some people, like sending a £50 transaction might feel like crap. If I lose that,
Yeah, yeah,
that's a
yeah,
lot of money to some people.
yeah,
And for
yeah,
others, it might be 50 grand, whatever. But it's the same principle for each person. Um, and that's what I like about Bitcoin is it just gives equality. It gives
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
It doesn't have any sort of judgment. It is simply this is, and when you send that first transaction, you go, okay, hold, I now own this.
yeah,
This is my asset.
yeah.
One way to look at it would be like saying, here's my house.
Hmm.
I'm now going to send it here
Yeah.
with all my stuff in it. And it's really personal because money is personal and you
Of
don't
course
want
it
to
is.
lose
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and so essentially it's on to make sure that you get the addresses correct,
yeah.
that you store things so that there is a level where you go, okay, I'm taking ownership, which is about responsibility,
Yeah.
which is
And
about
not a lot of
growth.
people, not a lot of
Um,
people like that.
they don't like it. No.
Yeah,
So, that's where, other people may be more comfortable with third party risk
yeah, yeah,
by trusting someone. However, so like certainly within Bitcoin. So say you go onto an exchange like Coinbase. Okay,
Hmm.
some people won't like Coinbase, but you pick Coinbase, Binance. They're really easy entry level exchanges for you to be
Hmm.
able to go and get an account. You have to answer some questions now to get an account,
Yeah.
to justify, you know, uh,
Knowledge.
a knowledge base to go and
Yeah.
buy some crypto. I would only like in my journey now. I will only tend to buy Bitcoin with British pounds or with dollars,
Yeah.
um, because it's the safest asset within a very volatile asset class.
Yeah. Yeah.
So say you go and buy some Bitcoin, it's then stored on the exchange.
Hmm.
With Bitcoin, you will get keys, where it says like essentially it's not your keys, not your Bitcoin.
Hmm.
And so when you buy your Bitcoin, you'll then transfer it to a wallet, and that wallet will have certain, it might be a 12 or 24 letter
Yeah.
code base, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you store. And if you don't own that and you leave it on an exchange, essentially, if that exchange goes bust, you can lose your money.
Yeah.
Um, so if you do decide to go and buy Bitcoin, make sure that you also understand how to get a wallet and then take it off that
Yeah.
exchange. And it
And
can be
I didn't know about this until you explained it a lot more. I was in Binance. I used Binance for a few years, and it worked for me for what it needed to. But then when the money started racking up through XRP on the Binance, um, you you I started comparing Binance to a bank, and I was like, well, they could actually just take my money when I wanted to, and lose it all, and blah blah. So then when you started to explain about wallets and key, the passwords and all these sort of things, I was like, cool. So I found one, put it all in there. And I think, but that's one of the things that people really need to understand, don't they? That even though it might be in a crypto or in a crypto exchange, you still don't really own it fully, do you?
No, you don't know. No, I mean, it's essentially like your money in the bank, which,
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
I suppose the difference with that is, the money in the bank in the UK as such is covered by, by different compensation schemes
Mm.
and so up to certain levels. So so although your money's in the bank, if the bank goes bust, there'll be a certain level covered,
Yeah.
that you'll be able to get back. Um, However, it's the same really. It's like we pay money into our bank, and then
Hmm.
the bank essentially trades it,
Hmm.
and lends it to be able to earn more money. And so, if there was a run on the banks,
Hmm.
where people were all requesting all their money out of the banks, the bank they wouldn't have it.
Exactly. And I think that's going to happen in the future with probably with these exchanges, don't you think?
In the sense of people getting their money off the exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But what by way of like you mean by way of getting their Bitcoin or by getting
Yeah, I
their
think what's going to happen is so many people are going to start taking profits out of their Bitcoin through Coinbase and Binance, which is going to put a lot of pressure on the exchanges, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it can do. Yeah, if everybody decides to go and sell,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, the only difference is like because I mean, it has happened with like there are some big scams, and
Yeah.
that's but big scams in like FTX. I think was there was one years ago, Mount Gox, where um essentially people had and they'd left their assets on the exchange, and then the exchange just closed.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and I had that with I just it wasn't a lot. I put a bit of Ethereum onto one of the platforms that went bust,
Mm.
and thinking that you'd get good returns, and it was only like 10%, but at the time it's way better than any sort of interest you could get.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember the provider now, but anyway, it went bust, and can't claim anything back, and that's it. It's done. But
Yeah.
I've never put larger amounts in
No.
those
No.
things.
No.
I think
Yeah.
it, like you don't know what a CEO is planning, what a
Hmm.
team are planning. We
Hmm.
don't know these individuals, and
Yeah.
that's why with Bitcoin, it is the equivalent. Well, it is digital cash.
Yeah.
You buy it, you take it off the exchange, put it in. So there are cold wallets, hot wallets. A hot wallet would be a like an online wallet, so you get like Trust Wallet.
Yeah.
I think did you mention Gemini or something, a wallet
Oh,
that you
oh
use?
yeah. Gemini's Exodus as
Exodus.
well. Exodus. Yeah.
So I think that'll be a wallet that you keep on your phone.
Yeah.
And Trust Wallet is owned by Binance.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
so they're owned by these companies still, but
Yeah.
essentially it is a way where you're extracting the money, to yourself.
Hmm.
The best form of that is what's called a cold wallet.
Yeah.
Um, The ultimate best form of that is essentially a node that you run in your house for Bitcoin. That's quite advanced. It's
Yeah,
quite complicated for
yeah,
people, and I don't think it's where most will land. I think they will land on a cold wallet or a hard wallet,
yeah, yeah,
a hot wallet. Sorry, in that sense, yeah.
yeah.
Um, and the best ones of those are like a company called Ledger,
Hmm.
um, and that's the one I use. And that you just buy a ledger for like $100, and then you can withdraw the money off the exchange directly to your ledger, and then you own that money. It's yours. Job done.
Cool. Okay, so
Um,
I feel like we need. I feel like we've spoken about different types of and crypto, how you got into crypto, the Bitcoin side of it, or and how to own and why it's good for to get into Bitcoin and why and the positives of it. Let's talk about being a dad, because I know you work from home. I know you're a dad as well. I'm a dad as well. Why would it benefit us as dads? Why would us as dads getting into crypto, being a worker and all this sort of thing, what can crypto or specifically Bitcoin do for us to make us and help us as dads?
um, so I mean, so my son was born a few years ago, and I would say a few years ago is it really hits home. I think when you have a kid, and there'll be people who may watch this that have children of all different ages and
Yeah,
maybe a different different journey than that. For me, like I very much think about I think about the future,
yeah,
what I'll be passing down to him, not just what I have, but who I am. So that that's the more important aspect of it. Um, but there is something within you, that for me, I can see how more money is essentially moving upwards,
yeah.
and all lots of people are experiencing is their assets and the money that they have is just getting tighter and tighter,
Hmm.
because of inflation. And so why is Bitcoin helpful for that? Purely because it has a long-term time horizon.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody that says, right, I'm really thinking about the future
Hmm.
for my family, then I think, for me, I use Bitcoin as a long-term savings play,
Yeah.
of saying, right, so I'm thinking about 2030, 2034,
Yeah.
and onwards, where I think that the price of Bitcoin, could be 5x away from where we are now.
Hmm.
So, depending on somebody's age, what they're considering, if you might be 30 or 40 or 50 and say, right, well, in 10 years, okay, what can I think about in 10 years' time?
Yeah.
So I think there's something of like but what I'm not saying is, because it's not advice, but in the sense of I wouldn't expect somebody to say, I'm going to dump all my savings in Bitcoin. Because actually, I mean, I do know, like I know people that
Yeah.
have um, that have withdrawn the equity on their house,
Wow.
and put it into Bitcoin 5 years ago. Are they better off now? Yeah.
Yeah.
However, did they have a hell of a journey the last 5 years, in watching that
Yeah,
volatile
yeah,
as
yeah, of course.
I know someone who got crystallized part of their pension, and put in 100 grand, boom, straight into Bitcoin.
Wow.
And I was like, don't do that. Don't do it like that. But it's their choice.
Mhm.
And that, so, although I said at the time, don't do it, are they better off now? Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
have they had lots of sleepless nights because they saw the volatility go down? Um, uh, you've got to think about who you are as a person, in the sense of saying, right, like, I want to sleep well. What
yeah,
do I have at my disposal?
yeah,
How am I going to do this? So I think it's good for like a long-term time horizon.
yeah,
Um, it's difficult because, I know that you and I have made certain trades,
yeah,
that have come off.
yeah.
I would say, from my perspective, part of that is a little bit of luck,
Of course.
um, and
Yeah,
fortune,
yeah, yeah,
um, because I'm no more informed about various companies than anybody else. I think also part of it is about study, is about
yeah.
putting in like I'd probably put in 3 or 4 hours a day,
Wow.
and that is on top of my work anyway,
Yeah.
around my focus on digital assets.
Hmm.
It was a lot more than that a couple of years ago as well,
Yeah.
maybe 6 or 7 hours from 4 in the morning till starting work, and then at night for a couple of hours. So I was really committed to going, how do I do the education piece? What
Yeah.
is this really all about before I want to fully commit?
Yeah.
So I think there's the long-term piece. There might be the trading piece for some people,
Hmm.
but that's a far harder thing to comment on. Do you know what I mean? In the sense of, um, some people may feel comfortable with that level of risk of saying, okay, I'm going to buy now, sell later, and then buy in again at another point.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a different skill.
Yeah, yeah. I personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I think you've hit the nail on the head that crypto, Bitcoin, whatever you want to look at it is, it's a long-term game. I actually just see it as a saving account. That's how I see it. That's how I look at it. Like I did for the last 5 years. I didn't look at it. I didn't touch it. And if I had done, I would have had that emotional roller coaster ride of highs, lows, high lows, high lows. Personally, now I put it in there. I put a bit every month in there, depending on where it is in the market, and then I leave it. I'm not looking to, even though I took some out to pay myself back for the trip we've just done in America. Apart from that, I skimmed it. I'm not looking for short-term financial increase, like you say, and I think I've learned this more from the mentality of you of it's a long haul game. Um, and so, like you've always said, it comes in roundabouts, doesn't it? Every 4 years or so, there's a cycle, and all these sort of things that come into it. I'm not really thinking about making money this year off it, next year off it. I'm thinking, like you said, 10 years down the line where I'm looking to retire or buy my daughter a house or something like them, as them sort of things
Yeah,
that you're looking to invest not in you, but more so for your family, aren't you, for the future?
yeah, and it's difficult because so I go into it fully that, if it falls down, that's
Yeah.
on me.
Yeah.
That's on me. So I've gone into it going, this is the risk that I'm comfortable with,
Yeah.
and if I lose it, then I lose it.
Yeah.
And that's that. And that, I think if you're somebody who can be comfortable with that, fine.
Yeah.
And so then, traditionally they would say now, typically, that you don't put any more than 1% of your investment portfolio into crypto. So that would be like the wisdom of the day, as it were, in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, whether or not you do more than that is entirely your choice.
Down to you.
I will say I am more in than 1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and because I feel like I understand it, I don't think that Bitcoin is at risk
Yeah.
from, certain regulation. I think that it is, it's well established. It's a $1.9 trillion market cap.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, Gold's at $11 trillion. Um, what the S&P, I think, is something like 30 something trillion or more than that, it must be. So, um, it's an established asset, but it has a lot of room for growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And I feel like there's two things that I'm taking away from this chat. Number one, only invest what you can, and you're prepared to
Yeah,
lose. Only invest what you can and what you're prepared to lose. And what you don't want, like you said, is people invest in thousands and then if it all went wrong, you've got nothing left apart from your pants. You know what I mean? So you don't want that, number one. And number two, be prepared for the long haul game. Don't look at it as a quick fix or a quick scam or quick pyramid scheme or anything like that. It's an investment for, as a dad, especially for the future, so you can set your family up. And I think rounding it up as well, Jim, I think one of the things that you are good at, and I think I need to become more good at, and I think most dads getting into it need to become at, is research, looking, studying, researching, if you've got the time to
yeah,
understand it a lot more, because it's great people telling you online and all these sort of things. But unless you do your own research, you'll never fully understand it.
yeah. And also, like, it's a space where there's so much nerves about scams, and but mate, there are bigger scams in traditional
Oh
finance
yeah,
than in crypto.
yeah,
So when they get the headlines, people
yeah,
don't go, "Well, you know what, I'm not going to invest in this company or that company
yeah,
because, you know, but hold on, it's a scam. Like, there's been
yeah.
a scam."
Yeah. Well, look at that woman that pretended she was Brad Pitt and gave that guy £800,000. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's normal money. Do you know what I mean? So
but
there's
but there are also massive institutional financial
yeah,
scams
yeah, yeah,
of companies that raise hundreds of millions
yeah,
and then go bust.
Yep.
And people don't go, well, I'm not going to buy stocks and shares.
Exactly. Well, I'm not going to go shopping there because it was a scam, or I'm not going to do this there 'cause
It's exactly the same as
yeah,
Bitcoin. It's a market
yeah,
where there are bad actors in that space and there are good actors. I'm
yeah,
hoping and aiming to be one of the good actors that will hopefully give a little bit of trusted guidance to some people along the way where they can go, okay, right, I'm not after, we're not after anyone's money by way of asking for somebody's keys.
yeah.
It's not like no one's going to ever say, "Oh yeah, no problem. Give me those secret words that will give you." No, because it's your Bitcoin.
Exactly. So how do people get to know about your knowledge? Where can we find you, Jim?
So we just started a new community called Bitcoin for normal people, for
Yeah.
hardworking normal people wanting to know more about Bitcoin. They want a safe, trusted environment where we can simplify, demystify all things Bitcoin. So Instagram, Bitcoin
Yeah.
for normal people.
Awesome, man. We'll drop the links in the comments below so people can come and join you. Mate, I appreciate all your knowledge and I'm excited because I know we've got our little group going with another guy as well. And you drop little hints in there regarding crypto. So I'm excited for the future and the journey. And I appreciate you coming on our podcast, mate. Thank you very much.
Mate, genuinely really appreciate the ask. And it's just great to chat. So yeah, cheers, mate.
I'll see you
Appreciate it.
soon. Take care, man. Bye bye.
Nice one, Nath.
Bye bye.